The hallway was quiet that Tuesday morning. Too quiet. Princess Charlotte walked toward her father's study, her small shoes tapping against the marble floor. She carried a drawing she'd made, a family portrait with crooked smiles and too many colors. She wanted to show him before breakfast, but as she reached the heavy wooden door, she heard something that made her freeze. A voice. Not her father's. Someone else was in there. Charlotte pressed closer to the door. The voice was whispering, fast, urgent, like someone telling secrets they shouldn't know. Inside the study, Prince William stood by the window with his phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low and serious. He was discussing something private, security details about an upcoming visit. Sensitive information. The kind that never leaves palace walls. He didn't notice the man standing near the bookshelf. A palace aide named Marcus. Marcus had worked at the palace for 3 years. He wore the uniform. He knew the rules. He smiled at the family every morning. But today Marcus held something in his hand. A small device, no bigger than a deck of cards. A recorder. And it was on. If you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button now. You won't believe what happens next. Charlotte heard the strange voice again through the door. She turned the handle slowly and pushed. The door opened just a crack. Her eyes went wide. Marcus stood frozen. The recorder's red light blinked in his palm. For one terrible second, Charlotte and Marcus locked eyes. Her father's back was still turned. He was still on the phone, unaware. Marcus's face went pale. He brought a finger to his lips. A silent plea, begging the little girl not to speak. But Charlotte wasn't afraid. She was angry. "Papa!" she said loudly. Clear as a bell, William spun around. His eyes moved from his daughter to Marcus, then down to the device in Marcus's hand. The red light still blinking, time seemed to stop. "I'll call you back," William said into the phone. His voice had changed. It was cold now. Hard. Marcus tried to speak. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. His hand trembled. "What are you doing?" William asked. Each word sharp as glass. "Your Highness, I can explain you're recording me?" Marcus took a step back. He glanced at the door. Then at the window, trapped Charlotte stayed in the doorway watching. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but she knew it was bad. Very bad. William moved forward. His jaw was tight. His fists clenched. He'd trusted this man. Let him into their home. Into their lives. How long? William demanded. Marcus said nothing. His eyes darted around the room like a cornered animal. Outside the study, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Heavy boots. Quick pace. Someone was coming. The palace guard had heard the princess's voice. Something in her tone triggered his instincts. He'd been trained for moments like this. Trained to sense danger even when it wore a friendly face. His name was Davies, former military. 6'3", loyal to the bone. He reached the study door just as Marcus made his move. Marcus lunged for the window. The recorder still clutched in his hand, but Davies was faster. He burst through the door with the force of a storm. Davies moved like lightning. His hand shot out and grabbed Marcus by the shoulder, spinning him around before he could take another step. "Don't move," Davies said. His voice was calm, but his grip was iron. Marcus struggled. He twisted and pulled, desperation flooding his features. The recorder slipped from his sweaty palm and clattered to the floor. William scooped Charlotte up immediately, pulling her away from the chaos. He held her tight against his chest, one hand cradling her head. She could feel his heart pounding. "It's all right, sweetheart," he whispered, though his voice shook slightly. "You're safe." But Charlotte kept watching over his shoulder. Her eyes tracked every movement. Davies forced Marcus against the wall. Not roughly, but firmly. Controlled. He'd done this before in far more dangerous situations. This was just another threat. Another person who'd betrayed the trust given to them. "Check his pockets," William said. His voice steady now, controlled. The shock was wearing off. Replaced by something harder. Davies patted Marcus down with professional efficiency. He found 2 more devices, another recorder, and a phone. Not Marcus's work phone. A burner, untraceable. William's face darkened. "Who are you working for?" he asked. Marcus said nothing. His chest rose and fell rapidly. Sweat beaded on his forehead. "Answer him," Davies growled. Still nothing. Charlotte watched the man who used to smile at her in the mornings. The man who once helped her find her lost toy bunny. He looked different now. Smaller somehow. Scared William set Charlotte down gently. He knelt beside her, his hands on her small shoulders. "Charlotte, I need you to do something for me," he said softly. His eyes were serious, but kind. "Go find Mummy. Tell her to come here. Can you do that?" Charlotte nodded. She was only 8, but she understood. Something very bad had happened, and her father needed help. She ran from the room, her footsteps echoing down the long hallway. Once she was gone, William stood. He walked slowly toward Marcus, each step deliberate. "You've been in my home," William said quietly. "You've met my children, shared meals with my staff. And this entire time, you've been stealing from us." "It's not personal," Marcus finally spoke. His voice cracked. "It's just business." "Business," William repeated. The word came out like a curse. "You're selling our private conversations, our security details, our lives." Marcus looked away. Shame and defiance warred on his face. Davies picked up the recorder from the floor. He examined it. Professional grade. Expensive. This wasn't some amateur operation. "How much did they pay you?" Davies asked. Marcus laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. "Enough." "Enough for what?" William demanded. "Enough to betray people who trusted you." "You don't understand," Marcus said. His voice rose. "You live in a palace. You have everything. I have nothing. They offered me 6 months of salary for 1 recording." 6 months. "So you sold us out," William said flatly. "I sold information," Marcus corrected. "Just words. Just conversations? Just conversations?" William's voice grew louder now. "Those conversations contained security protocols, travel arrangements, information that could put my children at risk." For the first time, real fear flashed in Marcus's eyes. He hadn't thought of it that way. Or maybe he had and just didn't care who bought it. William asked again. "Tabloids. Foreign agents. Who?" Marcus clenched his jaw. Silent once more. Davies stepped closer. His presence alone was intimidating. "You'll tell us eventually. Make it easier on yourself." "I want a lawyer," Marcus said. "You'll get one," William replied. "After you tell us who else is involved." Marcus's eyes widened. "What do you mean? You think we believe you're working alone?" Davies said. "Someone inside gave you access. Told you when and where? Who was it?" The color drained from Marcus's face. He realized too late what he'd revealed. There was someone else. Someone still inside the palace walls. Footsteps approached. Multiple sets. Quick and purposeful, Catherine appeared in the doorway with Charlotte holding her hand. Behind them, 3 more security officers and the head of royal protection. Catherine's eyes found William first. He nodded once. She released a breath she'd been holding, then pulled Charlotte close. The head of protection, a stern woman named Andrews, surveyed the scene with sharp eyes. She'd been doing this for 20 years. She'd seen threats before, but betrayal from within always cut the deepest. "Secure him," she ordered. 2 officers moved forward with restraints. Marcus didn't resist as they cuffed his hands. The fight had left him. He looked smaller now, diminished. Just another person who'd made a terrible choice. Andrews held up the devices Davies had found. She turned them over in her hands, examining them with the eye of someone who'd seen every trick. "How long has this been going on?" she asked Marcus. He stared at the floor. "Answer her," Davies said. 3 months, Marcus whispered. 3 months. The words hung in the air like poison. 3 months of stolen conversations? 3 months of betrayal. 3 months of someone listening to their private lives. William felt sick. He thought of all the conversations he'd had in that study. Discussions about his children, about Catherine's health concerns, about security weaknesses they were trying to fix. All of it recorded. All of it sold. Who bought the recordings? Andrews asked again. Marcus looked up. His eyes were red. A journalist. British. I don't know his real name. He went by Michael. We only met twice. Everything else was through encrypted messages. Which paper? William demanded. I don't know. I swear. He never said. He just paid cash and took the files. Andrews pulled out her phone. She typed quickly, sending messages to her team. Within minutes, they'd need to contact MI5. This had become a security matter. If foreign agents had gotten hold of Royal Communications, the implications were enormous. Catherine led Charlotte to a chair in the corner. She knelt down, eye level with her daughter. You did the right thing, darling, she said softly. You were very brave. Is Papa angry? Charlotte asked. Her voice was small. Not at you. Never at you. You helped us. Charlotte looked past her mother at Marcus. Why was he recording? Catherine hesitated. How do you explain betrayal to an 8-year-old? How do you teach them that some people can't be trusted without making them afraid of everyone? Sometimes people make bad choices, Catherine said carefully. Even people we think we know. Will he go to jail? Yes, sweetheart. He will. Charlotte nodded slowly. She looked sad. Not scared, just sad. Another piece of innocence lost. Across the room, Andrews was on the phone. Her voice was clipped and professional. Yes, sir. A breach. Internal. We need a full sweep. Everyone with access to the family's private quarters. Yes, all of them. William felt the weight of what was coming. Interrogations, investigations, weeks of suspicion and paranoia. They'd have to suspect everyone now. Question every smile. Every kind word. Wonder who else might be selling their secrets. Davies still stood near Marcus, watchful. The device, he said to Andrews. The recorder. It's military grade. That's not something you buy online. Andrews frowned. She ended her call and examined the device more closely. Davies was right. This was professional equipment, expensive, the kind used by intelligence agencies. Where did you get this? She asked Marcus. Michael gave it to me, he said. Said it was untraceable? And you believed him? Marcus said nothing. Andrews and Davies exchanged a look. This was bigger than they'd thought. A journalist working alone wouldn't have access to this kind of technology. Someone with resources was behind this. Someone with connections. Get him out of here, Andrews ordered. Separate facility. No one talks to him except me and MI5. The officers lifted Marcus to his feet. As they led him to the door, he looked back at William. I'm sorry, he said. The words sounded genuine. But sorry doesn't undo damage. Sorry doesn't erase 3 months of theft. William said nothing. He just watched as the man who'd betrayed them disappeared down the hallway. When the door closed, the room fell silent. Catherine stood and moved to her husband's side. She took his hand. It was shaking slightly. The children, she said quietly. We need to tell George and Louis before they hear it from someone else. William nodded. He looked exhausted suddenly. The adrenaline wearing off, leaving only weariness behind. Charlotte stood up from her chair. She walked over to her parents and hugged her father's leg. I love you, Papa, she said. William picked her up. He held her close, burying his face in her hair. I love you too, sweetheart. So much. Andrews cleared her throat gently. Your Highness, we need to move you to the secure wing. Until we've swept this entire area. There could be more devices. The thought sent a chill through the room. More devices. More recordings. How deep did this go? Davies was already examining the bookshelves, the desk, the curtain rods. Anywhere a listening device could hide. The paintings, he said suddenly. He pointed to a large portrait on the wall. That one was moved recently. See the dust pattern? Andrews moved closer. She examined the frame. Behind it, tucked against the wall, was another device. Smaller. Older. It had been there longer. William felt his stomach drop. How many conversations had that one captured? How many private moments? Check everything, Andrews, ordered Davies. Every room they use. I want this place torn apart. Catherine tightened her grip on William's hand. Their home had been violated. Their privacy stolen. And somewhere out there, someone had recordings of their lives. Their fears. Their hopes. Their most intimate moments. Who else knows? William asked quietly. Andrews met his eyes. About the breach? Just us. For now. But we'll need to brief the king and the Prime Minister's office. More people. More questions. More scrutiny. The price of living in a glass castle. 3 hours later, the palace was swarming with specialists. Men and women in plain clothes moved through every room with electronic detectors. They checked light fixtures, air vents, picture frames. Anywhere someone could hide the eyes and ears of betrayal. They found 4 more devices. 1 in the family dining room. 1 in Catherine's private sitting area. 1 in the hallway outside the children's bedrooms. And 1 in the garden room, where the family often gathered for tea. Each discovery felt like another, punch to the gut. William stood in the security office watching the devices laid out on the table. 7 in total. 7 windows into their private lives. 7 violations. How did we miss this? He asked quietly. Andrew stood beside him. Her face was drawn, tired, knew the security patterns. Knew when we did sweeps. He was careful, patient, for 3 months. Yes, sir. William picked up one of the devices. It was so small, so innocent looking. Hard to believe something so tiny could cause so much damage. Has he said anything else? William asked. Not much. MI5 has him now. They're applying pressure. But he's more afraid of whoever he's working for than he is of us. Oh. That was the part that worried William most. If Marcus was this terrified, then the person pulling the strings was dangerous. Very dangerous. What about the recordings he already sold? William asked. Can we get them back? Andrews hesitated. That hesitation told him everything. We're trying, she said. But once information leaves the palace, it's nearly impossible to contain. If this journalist passed them along, they could be anywhere by now. Tabloids, foreign intelligence, the internet. William set the device down carefully. He felt Catherine's presence before he saw her. She'd entered quietly, not wanting to disturb. The children are settled, she said. George asked a lot of questions. Louis just wanted to know if Charlotte was a hero now. Despite everything, William smiled slightly. She is. She absolutely is. What happens now? Catherine asked. Andrews pulled up a screen on her computer. We're analyzing the devices. Each one has a unique signature. We might be able to trace where they were purchased, who handled them before Marcus got them. And if we find this Michael person, William asked, then we find out who he's working for, and we shut this down. But the unspoken truth hung in the air. Even if they found everyone involved, the damage was done. Somewhere out there, recordings existed. Private conversations. Family moments. Security details. And they had no idea who had access to them now. Catherine moved to William's side. She looked at the devices on the table with disgust. I want them destroyed, she said. All of them. Evidence, Andrews said gently. We need them for the investigation. Then investigate quickly, Catherine replied. Her voice had steel in it. I won't sleep knowing those things are just sitting here. Andrews nodded. She understood. This wasn't just about security protocols. This was personal. A mother protecting her children. A wife defending her home. A knock at the door interrupted them. Davies entered, his expression grim. We've identified the second person, he said. Everyone froze. What? William asked. Davies pulled out his tablet. He showed them security footage from 3 weeks ago. A woman in a cleaning uniform entering the family wing. She moved with purpose, not the random pattern of someone actually cleaning. Her name is Sarah Mitchell, Davies said. She's worked here for 5 years. Impeccable record. No red flags. Until now. The footage showed Sarah pausing near a bookshelf. She looked around, then reached up and adjusted something behind a frame. The movement was quick, practiced. Then she continued on as if nothing had happened. That's where we found one of the devices, Andrews said quietly. Catherine's hand found William's arm. 5 years. She's been here 5 years. She's seen the children grow up. The betrayal cut even deeper. Marcus was one thing. He'd only been there 3 years. But Sarah? She'd been trusted. She'd been part of the household. Where is she now? William asked. We don't know, Davies admitted. She didn't show up for her shift this morning. When we went to her apartment, it was empty. Cleared out? Like she was never there, she knew, Andrews said. Marcus must have warned her somehow. Before we grabbed him, William felt anger rising in his chest. So she's in the wind? With 3 months' worth of intelligence about our family? We've alerted border security, Davies said. Airport security, train stations. If she tries to leave the country, we'll catch her. If she doesn't? Catherine asked. If she's already gone? No one had an answer for that. William walked to the window. Outside, tourists gathered at the gates, taking photos. To them, this was just a beautiful historic building. They had no idea what was happening inside. No idea that the fairy tale had cracks in it. I want to make a statement, William said suddenly. Andrews looked up sharply. Your Highness, I don't think that's wise. If the press learns about this, they'll learn about it anyway, William interrupted. Once Marcus goes to trial, once this becomes public record, better to control the narrative now than have it control us. Catherine asked. William turned to face them. The truth. That our security was breached. That we're taking action. That whoever is behind this will be found and prosecuted. That could provoke them, Davies warned. If they feel cornered, they might release whatever they have. Or, William countered, they might make a mistake. Get sloppy. Expose themselves. Andrews considered this. She'd been in security long enough to know that sometimes the best defense was a strong offense. I'll need to clear it with the king, she said. And the government. Then do it, William said. Today, Catherine squeezed his arm gently. She knew what this cost him. Privacy was the one luxury they tried desperately to maintain. Going public with this felt like losing another piece of it. But sometimes you have to show strength. Show that you won't be intimidated. By evening, the palace was in lockdown. No one entered or left without thorough screening. Every staff member was being interviewed. Every room had been swept 3 times. William sat with his children in their private quarters. The safest place in the palace now? Charlotte was drawing again, this time a picture of Davies. She'd made him look like a superhero, cape and all. George, at 10 years old, understood more than his siblings. He sat quietly, processing everything his parents had told him. Will they come back? He asked. The people who did this? William chose his words carefully. No, son. They won't. We've made sure of that. But they have our conversations, George said. The recordings. What if they share them? It was the question William had been dreading. The question that kept him awake at night. Then we deal with it, he said simply. Together. As a family? Louis, only 6, was less concerned. He was playing with toy soldiers, making them march across the carpet. To him, this was all an adventure. His father had caught the bad guys. The end. Catherine sat beside William. She'd been quiet for the last hour, just thinking, planning, worrying. Andrews says the statement is approved, she said softly. You'll do it tomorrow. Morning press conference. William nodded. Good. Are you sure about this? No, he admitted. But I'm sure about doing nothing. That's worse. A knock at the door made everyone look up. Davies entered, his expression different now. There was something almost like satisfaction on his face. They found her, he said. William stood immediately. Sarah, Heathrow Airport. Trying to board a flight to Belgium. She used a fake passport, but facial recognition caught her. Relief flooded through William. Is she talking? Not yet. But they found a laptop in her bag, encrypted. MI5 is working on it now. What about Marcus? Catherine asked. Has he said anything new? Davies glanced at the children, then back to William. The message was clear. Not in front of them. Charlotte, George, Louis, William said gently. Why don't you three go with Mummy? I'll be there in a moment. Catherine stood, gathering the children. Charlotte protested briefly, wanting to hear more. But one look from her mother silenced her. They left the room, Catherine closing the door softly behind them. Once they were alone, Davy spoke freely. Marcus broke about an hour ago. The full story came out, and... It's bad, sir. Worse than we thought. William braced himself. Tell me. It wasn't just one journalist. There was a network. At least 5 people involved. They were building a database. Every conversation, every detail, cataloged and organized. They planned to release it all at once. A massive exposure of royal life. William felt his blood run cold. When, 6 weeks from now, timed to coincide with your next major public appearance. 6 weeks. They'd almost made it. Almost pulled off the biggest invasion of royal privacy in modern history. Why? William asked. What's the goal? Money? Davy shook his head. Influence. Power. One of the people involved has political ambitions. They wanted to use the recordings to shift public opinion, make the monarchy look weak, vulnerable, out of touch. Who? Marcus doesn't know the name, but he knows what they look like. We're working with sketch artists now. William walked to the window again. His thinking spot. Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the gardens. Need to move faster, he said. If they realize we've caught both Marcus and Sarah, they might panic. Release what they have early. Already ahead of you, Davies said. We've got our best cyber team trying to trace the network. Find where the recordings are stored. If we can locate the servers, we can seize them before anything goes public. And if we can't, Davies didn't answer. Because they both knew. If those recordings went public, it would be a disaster. Not just for the family, but for national security. Some of those conversations contained information that could endanger people. There's one more thing, Davies said quietly. William turned. What? The device Charlotte saw? The one Marcus had in the study. It wasn't recording your phone call. What? It was transmitting live. Someone was listening in real time. The implication hit William like a freight train. Someone had been listening as Marcus was caught. They'd heard everything. Which meant they knew exactly how much the palace had discovered. They're going to run, William said. Probably. But they'll also make mistakes. Scared people always do. William's mind raced. They needed to act fast. Strike while the advantage was still theirs. Tomorrow's statement, he said. Change it. Don't say we caught anyone. Say we're investigating. Make them think we're still in the dark. Davies nodded slowly. Make them feel safe. Let them get comfortable. Exactly. Then we close the trap. It was risky. If it backfired, if the network realized it was a bluff, they might release everything immediately. But if it worked, they'd buy time. Time to track them down. Time to seize the recordings before they could be shared. Davies pulled out his phone. I'll inform Andrews. She'll hate this plan. She'll understand it, though. That doesn't mean she'll like it. William almost smiled. Almost. But there was nothing funny about this situation. His family had been violated. His home invaded. His children's privacy stolen. And somewhere out there, people were sitting on recordings that could destroy everything they'd built. Everything they'd tried to protect. How's Charlotte? Davies asked suddenly. After everything she saw, William thought about his daughter, 8 years old. Already learning that the world wasn't always safe, that people couldn't always be trusted. "She's resilient," he said. "Stronger than she looks. She saved you today," Davies said. "If she hadn't come to that door, if she hadn't spoken up, Marcus might have gotten away with it for months more." "I know. She's brave. Like her father." William looked at Davies. Really looked at him. This man had served the family for years. Had thrown himself between them and danger more times than William could count. And right now, he looked tired. Worn down by the weight of keeping them safe. The next morning, William stood before the cameras. Behind him, the palace walls looked strong, unshakable. That was the image they needed to project. "Yesterday, a security incident occurred within the palace," he said, his voice calm and measured. "We are investigating thoroughly. Anyone with information is encouraged to come forward. That is all I can say at this time. Short, simple, giving away nothing. Just enough to make the network think they were still safe." As the press shouted questions, William turned and walked away. No answers. No details. Just controlled silence. Behind the scenes, the real work was happening. MI5 had cracked Sarah's laptop. The files revealed everything. Names, meeting locations, payment records. The network was bigger than they'd thought. 7 people in total. A journalist, a former intelligence officer, 2 political activists, Sarah Marcus, and 1 more person still unidentified. But they were closing in. The cyber team had traced the servers. They were in a warehouse in East London, nondescript, easy to miss, perfect hiding spot. At 2 in the morning, 3 days after Charlotte caught Marcus, the raid happened. 20 officers. Full, tactical gear. They hit the warehouse from 3 sides at once. Inside, found everything. Servers, computers, hard drives filled with recordings. Months of stolen conversations. And 3 of the conspirators, working late into the night. The arrests were swift, professional. Within hours, the entire network was in custody. Davies brought the news to William at dawn. He found him in the study, the same room where this had all started. "It's over," Davies said simply. William closed his eyes. He felt the weight lift, just slightly. All of them. All of them. And we've secured every recording. Nothing was distributed. Nothing was shared? You're sure? Positive. The cyber team verified it. Every file is accounted for. William sat down heavily. He hadn't realized how much tension he'd been carrying until it was gone. What happens now? He asked. Trials. Prison sentences. This won't be quiet. But you'll control the narrative. You'll tell your story. On your terms. William nodded. That was something at least. Some measure of control returned. Catherine appeared in the doorway. She looked as tired as he felt. But there was relief in her eyes too. "Children want to see you," she said. William stood. He thanked Davies, clasped his shoulder once, then went to find his family. They were in the breakfast room. All 3 children eating pancakes like it was any other morning. Charlotte saw him first and smiled. That smile that could light up entire rooms. "Papa, you look happy," she said. "I am, sweetheart," he replied. "Everything's going to be all right now." George looked up from his plate. "Did you catch them? The bad people?" "Yes, son. We caught them." Louis pumped his fist in the air. "Yes. Like superheroes." William sat down with him. Catherine poured him tea. For the first time in days, things felt normal. Safe. Like home again. Later that morning, Andrews came to update them on the final details. The 7 conspirators would face serious charges: espionage, theft, violation of privacy. They'd be in prison for years. "There's one more thing," Andrews said. She pulled out a tablet and showed them a video. It was Marcus recorded the day before in his cell. He looked broken, defeated. "I just want to say I'm sorry," Marcus said to the camera. "To the family. To everyone. I thought I was just making money. I didn't think about the real consequences. About who I was hurting." William watched the video without expression. The apology felt hollow. Too little, too late. He knows what he did was wrong, Andrew said. For whatever that's worth? It's worth very little, Catherine said quietly. But at least he admits it. Andrews nodded. She closed the tablet. The devices have been destroyed. Every recording wiped. Your privacy is restored, as much as it can be, William said. Because that was the truth. You can't unhear words. Can't unsee moments. 3 months of their lives had been observed, stolen, and even though the recordings were gone, the violation remained. Right. What about Charlotte? Andrews asked. How is she handling all of this? As if summoned by her name, Charlotte ran into the room. She'd been playing outside with her brothers. Papa, can Davies come to tea? She asked. I want to show him my new drawing. William smiled. I think that can be arranged. Charlotte beamed and ran off again, her laughter echoing down the hall. She's resilient, Andrews observed. She's 8, Catherine said. She shouldn't have to be. But that was the price of their life, their position. The children grew up faster than others, learned harder lessons earlier, understood that safety was never guaranteed. That afternoon, Davies did come to tea. Charlotte presented him with her drawing. It showed the palace, the family, and Davies standing guard. She'd labeled him our hero in purple crayon. Davies looked at the drawing for a long time. His eyes were suspiciously bright. Thank you, Princess, he said quietly. I'll treasure this. You're welcome, Charlotte said. You saved us, no, Davies replied, looking at her seriously. You saved us. If you hadn't walked through that door, if you hadn't spoken up, we might never have caught them. Charlotte considered this. So we're both heroes? Yes, Davies said. We are. William watched this exchange from across the room. His daughter and the guard who'd protected her. 2 people from very different worlds, brought together by danger and courage. 3 weeks later, the trials began. The story made headlines for days. The public was outraged. 7 people had conspired to violate the royal family's privacy, to steal their conversations, to use their words as weapons. But William kept his family away from most of it. They released one statement, brief and dignified. Then they moved on, focused on their work, their causes, their children, because that was what mattered. Not the betrayal, not the arrests, not the headlines. What mattered was that they were safe, together, and they'd survived. Charlotte went back to school. George returned to his studies. Louis played with his toys. Life continued as it always does. But sometimes, late at night, William would walk past the study, the room where it all started, and he'd remember that morning. The fear, the anger, the moment he realized that trust was a fragile thing, and he'd think about his daughter, 8 years old, standing in a doorway, saying Papa in a voice that cut through everything. She'd saved them. Not Davies. Not the security team. Not the investigators. Charlotte, his little girl. With her crooked smile and purple crayons, she was the real hero of this story. And every time he thought about it, William felt both pride and sadness. Pride that she'd been brave. Sadness that she'd had to be. But that's the burden of their life. The weight of the crown, even one not yet worn. And somehow, they'd carry it together. As they always had. As they always would. Because that's what families do. They protect each other. They stand together. They survive. Even when the world tries to tear them apart. Even when people they trust betray them. Even when the walls have ears and privacy is an illusion, they survive. They endure. They love, and that, in the end, is the only truth that matters.